Every day in the USA, people find themselves in court.
Mr. McWhale bailed out as soon as he finished that case. I was hopeful to get some prosecutor input on this case also. He didn't try it, but it's very helpful to have a prosecutor here on domestic assault cases. I'm not sure what he's doing at the White Pit, at the police post. It sounds like some sort of a follow-up on a case.
Judge, did you want me involved in this?
Yeah, well, yes, I did, if you could be.
Oh,
And I
all
have another
right. Sure.
difficult domestic assault case. You didn't try this one, but your office negotiated it, and I don't think anyone else is gonna come. Marissa's covering two courts at once, so it'd be helpful if you could participate in this. Are you
Sure.
able to do that?
Yes, I can, Judge. Sure.
All right, now let me call the case. This is People versus Jeffrey Michael Sherrard. File number is 241349FY. The defendant was charged originally with felony domestic assault, third offense. The matter was reduced to domestic violence, second offense, by way of a plea. The matter was set for sentencing this morning. The complaining witness, Amber McCauley, is present. The defendant is here with his attorney, Tim George, as indicated. This was reduced from a felony to a misdemeanor. So I guess I'll record this as a felony on my time sheet. But it's a tough case. Another one, what is the answer to this question? I don't know. So I don't have any preconceived idea what to do here. Mr. George, what would you like me to know?
Thank you, Your Honor. I have had the opportunity to speak with my clients, both at the time of the plea and just today. Obviously, he's upset that he's in this situation. I know that he wishes that things would have gone differently on that day. But just to highlight some things about him, Your Honor, he has been employed. He was working in the trucking industry before this happened, had to take different employment because of this and some of the restrictions of his bond. And while we're on that, he has been on a GPS tether for 2 months since this has happened. It's my understanding there haven't been any issues with that, as he's closer to the Grand Rapids area at this time and plans to be there permanently. He does have other employment that is lined up after the temporary employment that he has once he knows what the court is going to do in this case. Here, Your Honor, this is a third offense, domestic violence. The previous one, I think the most recent one, was 8 years ago. My client hasn't been in any trouble in at least 5 years. We would ask the court to consider, if the court is looking to do some type of additional jail, we'd ask that that be over the course of her probation. As my client does live out of the area, he'd like to have the opportunity to continue to work. And I think that's evidenced by the time that he's been out on bond without any issue. He is able to comply with what the court's orders would be. So we'd ask the court to consider that when making a sentence today. Thank you.
Mr. Sherrard, what would you like me to know?
Pretty much the same thing my attorney said. I wish things would have happened differently on that afternoon. I'm grateful, or I lost for words. I'm deeply sorry for what happened. I've lost everything from my job to I'm struggling so bad right now, just trying to keep my head above water because of the employment I had to take to try to make ends meet.
Well, the booking sheet said you were a delivery driver. What were you working in June of 23?
Yes, sir.
Where did you work at that time?
I worked for Erickson's Flooring and Supply Company, sir.
All right, delivering flooring to job sites?
To job sites, different flooring warehouses, stuff like that, all over the state, all over Ohio and Indiana and Illinois, sir.
And you lost your job as a result of this?
Yes, sir, because I cannot cross state lines with a GPS tether on, sir.
All right, we could have, I suppose, done something about that, but at any rate, there was a felony at that time. And what's your new job?
I'm a landscape foreman.
As where?
It's for Promo Landscape out of Byron Center. I mostly drive dump truck for them.
And so you have a CDL, obviously,
Yes, sir.
and you're living in Shelbyville?
Yes, sir. Well, I've been staying up in Grand Rapids at my girlfriend's house.
All right. So between June and September, now you're in a different relationship?
Yes, sir. I just started seeing somebody else.
I think that was part of the trauma here. Miss McCauley, would you come forward? Thank you for being here. Marissa from the prosecutor's office wanted to be here, but she's also got a parallel case with bad facts going on next door. Let me see if I get the picture here. You were living at,
Yes, I've lived there since 2016,
all right, and that's your house.
yes.
And Jeffrey had been there. You broke up and then you let him come back.
Yes,
That would have been all this year, 2024.
no.
Right.
We started talking in September. We split up November 22nd because.
Last 2023.
Yes,
Okay.
and then we got back together probably in February. And then we were together until this happened,
All right. So he moved back into your home.
yes,
Who else lived there besides your daughter?
just me and my daughter.
And then sometimes he would bring his son there.
Yes, when he had his son on the weekends.
I'm trying to figure out which house this is. Is it that little house that used to be a store?
It's right next door to that,
Okay.
on the east side.
All right. The one that had the fence in it,
It doesn't have a fence.
is it blue?
Yes,
Okay, I think I know what house it is. It used to belong to a Three Rivers teacher.
yes, Miss Lewis.
Yes, all right, so you're in Miss Lewis's house, okay. And you've been there for quite a while, all right. Did he pay rent or anything?
No,
Contribute to your expenses?
the entire relationship, he paid $130 electric bill. I paid for everything else.
What do you do?
I'm a nurse.
All right, so he doesn't have where to live, so he moves back into your house.
Yes, he was living in his camper.
And there was a camper on this property.
Yes, it was out behind my house.
All right, but when he moved in with you, he wasn't living in his camper, he was living in the house.
Yes, when he lived with me, he lived in the house.
The report would indicate he was intoxicated when this happened.
He
Let's
was,
just say drunk.
yes.
What does he drink?
Jack and Coke.
And do you remember what the argument was about?
Yes.
And what was it about?
The argument was our kids had stayed up the night before. I think we went to bed at about 9:00 p.m. I woke up at about 10:30 that night and went to the bathroom. When I did, the bathroom was across from his son's bedroom, and I saw that the light was on. So I opened the door to shut the light off, and both of our kids were in there playing Uno. I had went back to bed.
How old are they? Now, I don't want to get tread lightly here, but how old are the kids?
My daughter is 13 and his son is 13. They didn't normally interact a whole lot, so I thought we were making some improvement, that they were actually doing something together. The next morning I woke up, I had received a text message on my phone from my daughter. I could read it to you if you would like. It was a lengthy text message saying that she needed to talk to me in private. My daughter had stayed up all night. She went to bed, I think about 6 o'clock that morning. Before she went to bed, she had discuss what she needed to talk to me about with Jeffrey. I don't real, I was sleeping at the time. I didn't wake up till about 10 o'clock. When I did get up, I seen the text message on my phone. Jeffrey was outside. I went outside and I asked him, what is this text about? And he explained to me, wrote my daughter a note saying that he had a crush on her and that he had taken care of it and he was taking his son home. That was all that he told me. Him and his son left. Once I did talk to my daughter, basically what she told me was that his son asked if he could push her down on the bed. And she said no. And he was being persistent about it. So finally she said, okay. And I guess he touched her right here and pushed her down on the bed. When he did that, he touched her breasts. And also he was playing pornography on his TV in the bedroom at the time. She ended up leaving the bedroom. So he supposedly had taken care of all that.
Now, you didn't know all this at that point,
No, I
right? So he
didn't.
left and took his son home
He
somewhere else,
said he was going to take him home.
right? And then at some point he came back.
He did come back. Apparently when he left, he took his son swimming.
And
then
came back with the son, with his son?
Yes.
Right, what time was it?
This was between 10 and 3. His son did not actually go home till about 10:30 that night. We had
What?
been arguing all day over that situation. I do have it on recording and I would like to play that for you.
Well, I understand your daughter recorded at least the audio of it on her telephone. And what time did this finally go down? After midnight?
Yes,
All right. At what point did he get intoxicated?
he had been drinking all day and leaving with his son and coming back and leaving and coming back.
And where did he take his son to?
As far as I know, he took him swimming and I'm not really sure where else he took his son.
But when he took him home, where is that?
He ended up getting a hold of the son's grandfather through the mother. And that, I think that they might have met somewhere.
All right. Okay, where do they live?
They live Plainwell area, I believe.
And the reason I ask is because he's drinking all day and then he's driving around with his son in the car.
Mhm.
All right, so you're arguing and at some point he got in your face and you blew smoke at his face.
Let it be known when this situation occurred, I was sitting in a sitting position on my furniture. So for me to blow smoke in his face, he kept getting right here in my face.
I'm just trying to understand. So that's what made him angry at that point. And then, so he's in your face. Is he yelling at you?
Yes.
All right, then that happens. And then what happened next?
I was sitting there and he was yelling at me and I was smoking a cigarette and I hit my cigarette and that's when he came right here and started screaming at me. And I blew my cigarette out. It wasn't to blow it in his face or anything like that. And that's when he hit me.
Now, your daughter was recording this at the time this is going down.
Mhm.
And that's what's on the phone?
Yes.
Okay.
I also have a couple other, I basically have the whole argument. I have a 4-minute argument of when I initially talked to Jeffrey about what had happened with my daughter. and then him yelling and explaining. And also, Judge, at one point during this argument, he had given his son a knife and told his son to protect himself against my daughter and stick her if she comes near you. And then after that, I don't have this on recording, but September 21st of last year, my father died in a house fire. And after he did that, he said that he basically told me that me and my daughter were going to die the same way that my dad did.
Where was this fire?
It was in Constantine on
Where?
Riverside Drive.
Okay.
So basically, he's telling me he's going to set my house on fire with me and my daughter in it. At the time, I worked third shift. My daughter was staying home a lot of the times by herself at night, and he was aware of this. So after all this happened and he left and everything, I had to take my daughter with me for a month to work every night with me until it wasn't allowed anymore. And then I would take her to my mom's house.
Which
Because-
is where?
In Constantine. I was afraid that he was going to set my house on fire.
Who's your dad?
Albert McCauley.
I knew Delbert McCauley. He was 2 years behind me. I didn't realize he died in a fire. I remember when he passed. Yeah, I knew him. He was a nice kid when he was a kid. But nonetheless, then you let him move back in your house.
No, this was the day that I kicked him out.
I see. Got it. Now, he denied to the police, well, he took off. So he's out. Did he drive or walk?
When the police got there, he went out the back door and disappeared. They went out. They talked to me first. It was probably about 45 minutes before they ever looked for him. And when they did look for him, he was nowhere to be found. And then I was very scared to stay there. So when the cops left, me and my daughter left, and I didn't have anywhere to go. And we eventually did come back to the house around 4 a.m. And I drove by and I seen that he owns a motorcycle and a car. I noticed his vehicles were moved and that front porch light had been shut off. So I knew he had been back there. I drove all the way around to the back of the house to make sure that one of his vehicles was gone. So I knew that he wasn't in there. And then I did go in the house. And then he kept calling and saying, I did not smack you. I didn't smack you. You know, I didn't smack you.
Now, let me touch on that because he denied to you and denied to the police that he'd hit you. And said you had had eye surgery and those injuries are because of a result of your eye. Now, he also had the opinion that he hit you knowing you had that injury to your eye. Tell me about that.
It was in 2023. I went to the emergency room. I discovered that I had a golf ball tumor behind my right eye. I've been getting treatment over the last year for it. I had to get a biopsy to make sure it wasn't cancer. I've gotten 3 injections in my eye. I'm due to get another MRI anytime, and I don't have to go back until 8 to 10 months to the U of M for that.
And that's the side that he hit you on.
Yes.
And you have a recording of that actually taking place.
Yes.
I'm willing to hear that. I don't need to hear the other things. Can you play just that?
I can fast forward to that part of it. Yes.
The report refers to that. Why don't you hand that to the bailiff? I'm not sure we'll be able to hear it. Let's set it right next to this microphone.
Yeah, I'm calling.
As loud as it goes.
Yeah.
Why people, you like cover shit up? You would have been on your phone, trying to shit.
You're right. Every fucking goddamn time. Just like Lisa, you're fucking. I'm wrong. My kid's wrong. I know my kid fucked up.
Where are you shooting at me though?
I obstructed the shit, didn't I?
I'm getting more than I intend to here, and I'm just gonna leave it at that there is a recording of him. Go ahead, give it back to her. Had you been drinking also?
No.
Okay. But at some point he slapped you in the face, then he left. Mr. Mequio, this doesn't present a very compelling case for Mr. Sherrard. Is there anything you wish to offer here? I know you're kind of coming into this late in the program.
Oh, that's right. Thank you, Your Honor. I guess the concerns that I would have would be, given the number of prior domestic violences he had, I'm assuming there was some effort for probation and rehabilitation and those other cases that apparently hasn't helped any. It doesn't appear that this victim is relying on him for any financial support. So given his record and given this incident, I'm not sure probation is going to help this individual unless the victim believes that monitoring is necessary to perhaps help her for her protection. Other than that, it looks like a case for probably a flat jail term, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Judge, can I also say something else?
Yes,
He did not lose his job related to this. He probably lost his job because he got charged with a reckless driving charge prior to us splitting up.
and where was that?
That was in Plainwell. He did get a reckless driving, and then also his job never required him to go over state lines. The whole time we were together, he never left the state of Michigan. He went north and he went east. He never crossed the lines. So him stating that he couldn't do that and that's why he lost his job, he's lying to you.
Your Honor, my client does report that he lost his job after he was taken into custody for this and was put on a tether.
All right, well, that might make sense. I don't know about the reckless driving. They didn't run a driving record, but the first domestic assault was in 2015. He pled guilty and was placed on a 12-month probation in Allegan County. He's got other baggage on here. The next one is felony assault strangulation, interfering with electronic communication device. He pled to a felony aggravated domestic violence second offense. Pled no contest and got 10 months in jail, 3 years probation on a felony conviction, and that was in 2016. There were some other license things. Then he got arrested again for domestic violence in Allegan County in 2018. And that was dismissed. So this is his fourth arrest for domestic violence, third conviction. Did a probation, did a 10-month jail sentence. Mr. Mequio's position is probably not worth wasting the resources on a probation. I got mixed feelings about it. He certainly could use some domestic violence. He's in a new relationship. Apparently didn't take too long. He's living with this complainant, not contributing much to her livelihood. Takes off, alcohol's involved, lies about it. Not expressed much remorse, although he did say he was sorry. I'm sorry the kids are involved, both your daughter and his son. The only reason to do a probation would be to do a no contact provision. I don't want to monitor his alcohol use. I don't want to, he certainly could benefit from it. Spent one night in jail. Now, it said, and I may have got this mixed up, that you got picked up at the Allegan County Jail. Tell me how that took place.
Yes, sir. I went to court on that careless driving ticket. And I was dealing with court and that. I got done with the court and I was walking out of the courtroom and they arrested me on a felony no bond warrant out of your county, Your Honor. And that's when I was transported down here shortly after. And like the second I got out of jail, I called work and I no longer had a job. I had to go return my semi key and my badge and everything.
How long were you in the Allegan County Jail?
I was there probably about 8 hours before St. Joe picked me up.
Was it a reckless ticket or a careless ticket?
Careless driving, sir. I avoided an accident, pulled into a parking lot with a couple
Don't tell me
officers.
any more about it. Hi, could you run a current driving record for me on Mr. Jeffrey Sherrard and email it to me? Or put it in my key. Thank you. Bye. Who is the judge? Judge Scotchless?
Yes, sir.
Well, there's a difference, obviously, between careless driving and reckless driving. Reckless driving is a misdemeanor. It's punishable by up to 93 days in jail and a fine of up to $500, and it carries a license suspension and 6 points. Careless driving is a civil infraction. It's punishable by a fine only. So I want to know which one it was. There was really no reason to run a driving record in this case because it didn't involve driving. But I want to know what that incident, you were there on August. So this happened on the 23rd of June. Prosecutors filed a warrant on July 18th. You got arrested on July 31st. Which is pretty good turnaround time for some of our domestic violence warrants.
I was very afraid at this time. I called because I knew he had court. I called up there and I spoke to those officers to arrest him from the court because I figured they wouldn't be able to find him afterwards if he didn't get arrested at court.
So you called to the court to let them know there was an open warrant?
Yes.
Okay.
I've had things done around my house. Somehow there was water put in my motorcycle tank. and my daughter's little motorbike got filled with water. I was afraid he was gonna do something to my car.
All right, just can't email it. It's in my file. So let me refresh. There's a lot of baggage on there, but you did have a valid license. It's valid now. And the citation was June 13th for careless driving, civil infraction. I'm gonna do a 12-month non-reporting probation. The only term is no contact with Amber McCauley. What's your daughter's name? You're not a very good domestic partner. And the problems you have are not problems other people gave you. They're your problems. Fine is $0. There's a $75 crime victims' rights fee and a $50 state minimum fee, and more than 93 days credit too. I mean, 91 days to serve started right now. Then you're on probation for 12 months, and the only condition of your probation is you not have any contact with Amber McCauley or her daughter. You got 10 months the last time. This was one slap to the face, which is bad enough, particularly in light of the fact that she has a tumor under the eye where you struck her. I didn't do all of it because I got jail to hang over your head. So if you're having contact with her after you get out, you can plan on 365 days. You can go with a court officer. Thank you, Mr. McWheel.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. This concludes